Welcome, everybody, to the Rough Report. I don't know if there's anybody watching yet. We're doing this at a bit of an unusual time. I wanted to try and get this going a little earlier than usual. Mostly because I was hoping Nat would join us. And here, I think I need to turn my mic up a bit more. All right. Yeah, I was hoping Nat would join us, but she has a D&D thing tonight, so that's why I'm going a little bit earlier. But I don't know if she's going to make it. Well, thank you for joining us anyway. For those of you who are or are going to, I just had a couple more things to click around, and yeah, I got to share the link to the Facebook page here. It's the first episode back in a while. We've gotten a bunch of new subscribers, I think, and it seems like a lot more people were watching some previous episodes, so awesome. Thank you for your love and support. And speaking of love and support, we had the custom song contest where I was raising a bit of money to basically fund future projects. And I didn't do the final tally, but I'm quite certain we exceeded the goal by maybe a few dollars. I think it was the rough math that I did between the couple different ways people were contributing. I think we just got over $400, which was the goal. So thank you so much. All the people that donated, I have your money in this literal hat here. And we're going to be drawing a name from this hat to announce the winner of the person who gets to choose what song I'm going to cover or what kind of weird new song I'm going to write, whether it's going to be weird or not. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm super excited. The last time I did this, friend and fan of the show, Jessica Hart, was the one who won that. And I ended up doing a cover of Youth by Daughter, which, to anyone that's familiar with my music, is completely out of my wheelhouse. And so it was an interesting challenge. I rose to the challenge, took my own little kind of like creative liberties with the song to a certain extent, had some fun with it. And posted it on my SoundCloud. So if you find the SoundCloud on the Rough Go on SoundCloud, there we go. I know I just have the Spotify logo here, which is, of course, not everyone's favorite streaming company, including myself. I got to get on that Bandcamp thing. That's what I'm going to do. But anyway, on with the show. We'll be announcing the winners near the end of the show. Onwards, welcome to the Rough Report. It's our first time back in about a month. We have some things to cover. We were going pretty heavy on the trucker convoy stuff, and I'm going to be touching a little bit on that because it's somewhat an ongoing thing. Definitely not the sort of monster behemoth that it once was a month and a half ago, but there's definitely some news to be touching on there. We're going to be talking about Amazon unionization, and of course, we're going to be talking about the Oscars. I don't want to get into the celebrity gossip of the Oscars and that end of things. That's not what I like to do on this show. I'm not going to offer takes in that sort of way. I sort of already done that on Twitter anyway, probably more so than I originally intended to. Yeah. Bear with me. Okay, just making sure my live chat's on and I can see it. Should really get some sort of like off-camera producer for the show eventually. Um, but yeah, if you were watching the show when we first started it, kind of at the beginning of this pandemic, we've been doing this for about year and a half, 2 years. I feel like it's been maybe 2 years now, off and on. We were doing it mostly weekly. I think at the beginning it might have even been twice a week. Um, but we were just kind of having silly fun with it at the beginning of this. But for the most part, what we did kind of lament about and talk about politically was, and what was at the top of Nat and I's minds, was the idea of how this was an opportunity for worker power. If you had a lot of people, staying home because of the pandemic, this was kind of a potential weak point for some of our corporate overlords, so to speak. There we go. Want a little more light in here. There we go. I think that's better. Um, that this was like a potential opportunity for workers to gain some additional power, and I found myself lamenting as time went on how that just simply didn't seem to be happening, or and at such an opportune time, no less. Well, maybe it was happening in just ways that were a bit quieter, at least in the United States. And now we're seeing the fruits of that labor come forward here, um, in the form of Amazon union leader Smalls went from rapper to voice of protest, and he helped lead Amazon into its first unionized warehouse. Amazon being now notorious for some kind of ultimate union busting behemoth, kind of the avatar of modern anti-worker corporate structure as we know it, brought down by this guy. God bless him. Um, yeah, the 33-year-old had worked at Walmart, Target, Home Depot, a rapper in his early career, gave up music to support his twin children. By 2015, he took a warehouse job at Amazon in his home state of New Jersey and then later New York. And it was from there that this all began. And we're finally seeing some major headway in workers gathering and recognizing that this is possible. Not only that this is possible, but it's good for us. There are all too many workers out there, in my opinion, that have been, more or less fed a lifelong diet of anti-union rhetoric, and that unions, are this net negative because they're corrupt, or they're this net negative because, they don't necessarily do anything for the worker and they just collect your union dues and things like that. And it goes to show that a couple decades of that rhetoric being normalized has certainly done us no favors in the wake of, rising costs on everything from, regular consumer goods to groceries, and our wages not increasing. And wages not increasing all across North America, that's for sure. And it's been abysmal in that regard. And these people have now taken it upon themselves to find their own way to get ahead. What's interesting about this story, and what I mean by that, find their own way, is a lot of what brought this union about and a lot of what organizing went into it is not what you would traditionally see from union organizing. It was almost like, I think this person, Smalls, being a fresh face and a fresh thinker in this realm of things, and finding himself thrust into this situation because, as leaked documents show, I forget the person at Amazon's name, but basically more or less in leaked documents from Amazon said, this guy doesn't seem very articulate or smart. So let's do this strategic thing where we're going to, make him the face of unionization. And that's ultimately going to be, a net negative on their movement, right? Well, needless to say, that backfired. And I think he's done a brilliant job. And it was through that, and I think taking advantage of that moment in a lot of ways, because also if you look into the story, traditional unions more or less weren't backing these efforts and backing this guy. They seem to have some apprehension there and some criticisms, but then eventually won their accolades. And it's inspiring, to say the least. So if you are here watching live on YouTube, be sure to tribute to the conversation. I love seeing your chats. I love reacting to your chats. And plus, I just love knowing that you're here. So yeah, and this is a huge victory. Like I said, pretty much the modern avatar of anti-union push is what you see from Amazon. And so recent U.S. union wins at Amazon, Starbucks, and more. There's been a lot more union votes. Sure, not all of them have won, but the fact that a lot more of them are even taking place at all is it's wonderful stuff, and we got to support this and keep this movement going. There's been some like recent stuff I've seen of people like trying to leftists online, let's say, some of the Twitter folk, that I have my suspicions aren't truly interested in leftist progress, because they've spent instead of celebrating these victories, they've spent the past little while trying to point out how AOC didn't make it to the last rally of the Amazon workers, and then when she celebrated their win, they went after her saying, "Oh, you're trying to take credit for this now." I think it was I remember Crystal Ball was going after her, and it seemed somewhat unhinged and a very strange line of attack. And basically, almost make it like, you can't tell me that doesn't look like, at least, some sort of effort in diverting the story away from how what this union has accomplished is amazing to, oh, look at these so-called pro-union politicians and why we shouldn't support them. That seems a little, I don't know, it's a little suspicious in my mind. It seems a little not right. Like I always say, you can have your criticisms of AOC, but and any of those, so-called progressive members of Congress and the Progressive Caucus and things like that. There's legitimate criticisms there, but when you see it get its loudest in the figures you see it from, it always seems completely weird. Like the amount people freaked out about her dress at the Met Gala, which I made a pre-recorded video about. Go back and watch that if you haven't already, because I share some thoughts on that. And it's just like they end up playing the role of right-wingers and like these sensationalist talking heads at Fox News that just kind of get off on dissing these people, and you're playing their game for them. You're doing it for them. I think we should be talking about how these wins are worth celebrating. And then as a side note, I'm now obligated to talk about how people trying to make this about AOC is in the like is just fundamentally ridiculous. Like, it doesn't even matter if you like her or not. Trying to make that sort of thing the center of this conversation rather than the fact that these workers did it. And they did it largely on their own and by their own organizing efforts. Let's not divert away from that fact, right? And hello, Jessica. I see that you are here. Thank you for joining us. I believe Chris's name is in this hat. that's going to be drawn when we announce the winner of this year's contest. Or I shouldn't say this year's, because I'm going to probably be doing more than one. Uh, One, I like doing it because it's creative venture. Two, it's a good way for me to, earn revenue off of both this show and my music without, depending on something as lame as Spotify plays or doing the Patreon thing, which, I just, in terms of the podcast, have not cultivated the kind of audience that even has Patreon making sense. So, as far as I found, this is just a strategy that works for me and is fun for other people, and it's accessible to them. So that's kind of how I'm going to keep doing it, I guess, for now, at least. I'm also open to ideas. If you think there's something like cooler we could be doing to help raise funds for this show and, even raising funds for charities and things like that, I would love to do that. I used to do that with the local music shows, which I hope to get back into doing again, if all is well, with COVID and everything. We'll be talking about that later. Sorry, getting a little sidetracked here. But yeah, recent U.S. union wins at Amazon, Starbucks, and more. There's even a couple of these I didn't even know about. Employees at 10 U.S. Starbucks locations have voted in recent months to join Workers United, an affiliate of the Service Employees International Union. The cafes included 5 in Buffalo, New York, 2 in Mesa, Arizona, 1 each in Seattle and Knoxville, and Starbucks Reserve Roastery in New York City. At least 170 others had petitioned for elections as of Friday. Ballots counts are scheduled for more than a dozen other cafes in the next couple weeks. Starbucks beat back the union in one Buffalo store. New York Times, Google Fiber, the installers of Google Fiber Internet, many within the cannabis industry, in particular Silicon Valley. The crowdfunding platform Kickstarter's employees voted to join a union, the first big tech company to do so. Another first. This is stuff that we should absolutely be celebrating these wins and taking these wins as a point of inspiration rather than allowing ourselves to be distracted by whether it be, figures that are acting in good faith or not, like whether they're genuine in their thoughts that they think, diverting this attention to AOC or diverting this attention to, certain political figures away from this story. Where do you think that they have like a genuine intent in doing that or not? The effect is the same, right? They're diverting attention away from what I think is effectively the more good thing to pay attention to. And that's kind of my take on that. Which other viewers are watching? Is there anybody else watching out there? I think I see a few people who are viewing live at the moment. But yeah, I certainly hope this is a trend that continues. I hope it inspires people here in Canada, because if you remember, some time ago, in the Stephen Harper era, he pretty much waged a pretty effective war on labor and labor power. I mean, stuff wasn't going too well in the mid-2000s anyway. But come his election in, hope I'm getting my years right here, 2006 or 2008, trying to remember offhand, he effectively cut a lot of strengthened wages, like through his temporary foreign worker program, and allowing the companies to take advantage of extremely cheap labor and taking advantage of these people that essentially had them living and working in this country rather precariously, and denied them a lot of rights that anybody working in this country should have. Anybody working, period, but particularly this country should have. And it watered down the value of labor, and he was a huge part of the stagnation of wages. And you can kind of look at it in like a timeline. Basically, the longer his term in office went, the more that kind of power through legislation got watered down. And unfortunately, when you have a liberal in charge, even though I would take a liberal over a conservative any day in many, many respects, what they largely tend to do once they get back in power is not really fix the stuff that conservatives cut, right? They sort of, if anything, don't make it really worse. They don't further the agenda, but they don't really do anything to fix what that agenda had accomplished, which is a net negative on all of us as workers and people who aren't millionaires and billionaires. So yeah, that's always my biggest complaint about a lot of liberals. It's like, sure, they don't necessarily make stuff worse. They don't really make it better either. Let's see here. What do we got? What else do we got? All right, so how are we feeling about the mask mandate, or the lack thereof, at this point? Feeling a little weird about it. I'm continuing to wear a mask as I'm going out and about everywhere, and fortunately, it seems like a lot of other people are. But I don't know. In my personal experience, if I had to like ballpark a statistic here, I would say only about 20% of people are continuing to wear masks. And it's like, without some sort of mandate or explicit language saying this is what you need to do or this is what you should do, it's hard to blame people for not wearing it. I'm not going to sit here and judge people for doing that. But how I would phrase it, perhaps, is you really should. You really should. It's not going to get any better by relaxing too much at this point, right? Here, if I pull up this graph here, see, we had a peak right around Christmas time. Surprise, surprise. It was pretty much hitting daily highs. What was it? The 7-day average as of January 4th there, 14,853 cases in a day. And then we went down, and got into March 21st. Average of 2,100 cases a day. Now we're at almost 2,300 cases a day. Only a slight bump, but it's only been a couple weeks, right? And so we're not going to know what the major fallout of this is for probably another few weeks, if there is going to be one. And, for the record, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong on my being a little bit doomy and gloomy about this. But, how we've been going round and round, where cases go down, yay, let's get back out there and ease up on restrictions. And then the cases fire up again and people die and get, irreversible lung damage. And then, we're kind of back to square one and right back down in lockdowns again. Yeah, Jessica says she hates it. I'm glad I already pulled my medically fragile child out of school, but I do feel good seeing that so many people are keeping their masks on. Yeah, I don't blame you for pulling your kid out of school. My niece, she didn't seem super stoked about going back once the mask mandate was lifted. But apparently a lot of kids at school are wearing the masks too. So that's great. And this is what I don't understand about like a lot of these people still complaining. Like recently there was another march in Toronto, an anti-vax march that I was kind of following through this lady I've been following on Twitter. I'm looking at the wrong thing. There we go. It's like it's a good clip for a game of I Spy. Yeah, because just well, I think that's sort of self-explanatory. But yeah, this was from today, actually. Yeah, just this morning. I think she was filming and posting this live, if I'm not mistaken. She's just kind of been updating it all day. So this was in Toronto, and it's like, what are you protesting at this point? What I don't know what do you want? Where you can go anywhere without showing the vaccine passport, like you just can't freely travel without at least taking some precautions, which by the way is not freaking new. Like to travel to certain countries of the world, you already had to be vaccinated. You already had to have a passport. You already had to do these checks and balances in order to travel. It's not a whole lot different. And that's the only thing I could be the source of their anger. But they want to be big babies anyway. And what are you complaining about, really? Oh, there's a Gadsden flag. Okay, so you got that. Put that on the bingo card, right? The American flag. Wait. This is a good one. Saint Michael, defend us in battle. It looks like he stole like art out of his like really Catholic mom's living room or something and drew on it. Don't trust your federal government. Don't trust your provincial government. Was that the Invisible Man there? What is it? He just has like the stuff painted on, wearing the trench coat and the hat. What is it? The something is the virus. Can't quite make out what that is. I mean, it's just such a vapid statement when you hear stuff like this general, just sort of aimless anti-government rhetoric, like don't trust your government. Like with what? What are you talking about? Don't trust our government in the fact that they're just listening to medical advice. So by extension, don't trust medical advice. I'm sure he would probably say yes to that. Actually, I have no doubt there. He's like, oh, the doctors, they're all paid for by the politicians, and the politicians are paid for by the doctors, and they got their own little economy between them going, I guess. Weird stuff. Free hugs, of course. There's always like the love and peace angle to this, where they try and come off like, even though they're just like aggressive and aggressively stupid, they always want to sprinkle a little bit of like, this is about love, like the same way the Westboro Baptist Church would show up and like protest somebody gay's funeral and make a horrible show out of it, but just say, we're doing this out of love because you're sinners and we want you to go to heaven. It's just like there's no love like there's no hate quite like Christian love, as I've heard the saying go. Same sort of vibes. Really weird. Like, this guy's pretty precious too. I was watching this earlier. Oh, go to by the way, her name is Karima. Karima at Karima Rules is the handle. CARYMA Rules. This gentleman wants less restrictions for the public so we can get out and enjoy the fresh air. He says this without a trace as he walks freely outdoors with a megaphone. And again, in terms of going out there and enjoying the fresh air, this is something you could always do.
My message is less restrictions for the public, and so we
you
can
already
enjoy
have
the fresh
that.
air. And if you want to know, really, I say no mandated by the government needle clinics.
Mandated by the government needle clinics. It's just like, Do you think you like spent some time thinking about like what's like the anti-marketing I could give to this? What's the least appetizing way I could phrase getting a vaccination? One of the most common and normal medical procedures that everybody worldwide engages in. Um,
They do the heroin clinics now and all the other drugs, so opiates and all that. We don't need more drugs, especially for the children, because it.
are we giving heroin to the children? Is that what we're doing at the needle clinics? Is we're shooting the kids up
Doesn't
with
save
heroin?
old people with comorbidities. That's just the fact that.
Older people with what? I didn't even understand what he said there. Here, let me go back.
That's just a fact of nature. Because it doesn't save old people with comorbidities. That's just a fact of nature.
It's just a fact of nature. You know, when these guys say it's a fact of nature, that you can pretty much bet that it's not. And yeah, like the thing is, it does save people. It saves old people. It saves young people from just even getting sick. Every person I've known who's gotten this thing has not entirely had an easy time. I know we've heard plenty of asymptomatic stories, but I don't know. As far as my at least personal anecdotal experience goes, take that for what you will. I don't see anybody saying COVID was easy. That's for damn sure. And then, yeah, again, the lasting damage it can take. The fact that, as we're seeing research coming out now and over the past while, that the idea of herd immunity by exposure is just complete garbage. You can absolutely get reinfected. Same as you can get reinfected by the flu. Hell, the common cold being the common disease that it is, you're going to get that several times throughout your life, right? Exposure to viruses like this are not going to guarantee you any safety any more so than a proper vaccine is going to. Even less, especially in the case of COVID, as it can have lasting physical damage on your body. And then when you get it again, you're already worse for wear. Right? That's evidently just a fact of nature. I'm only repeating what medical science and doctors have said, Actually, I should have provided sources on that. Hey, but, challenge me. If you want me to source me on it, I'll source it. Call me out on it if you think that's full of shit. I was going to do another one of the phone call things like a few weeks ago. I think it was about a month ago. I was arguing with this really dumb guy about the vaccines and stuff like that. A head right full of like every conspiracy theory. He had all the conspiracy theory talking points. Like he had the copy pasta. He must have had like a window with like everything like copied and pasted, ready to go, because he was just like zipping with his crazy sources and doing the gish gab thing, evidently. And so it ended up being sort of just disjointedly separated between phone call and text, because the call kept dropping because he was in an area with really bad internet. But conveniently, the call kept dropping only every time I started to speak. So it was a really interesting dynamic to the conversation there. Hence why I didn't. I just haven't done anything with the call, because cutting and pasting it together to try and make it make sense to you guys is it's just an act of futility. But yeah, I was gonna do another one of those, but yeah, and then also I'm glad the trucker convoy's over, that I don't have to really like dig deep into this shit anymore. But now it's just like, it's even funnier in that. Yeah, just what is this fucking guy complaining about? What is he on about? What is he doing? Like, I just, I just want people to get out and enjoy the fresh air again. You can. You're literally doing it right now, my guy. You're doing it right now. You're outside enjoying the fresh air. What the fuck? Oh yeah, here. Okay, and yeah, I scoot alongside the parade. If you hate us so much, let us leave, yells the Grand Marshal. A lady steps out onto her balcony to mime cutting up a mask, much to the delight of protesters. Oh, and there's a blocked ambulance.
Only countries with authoritarian governments prevent their citizens from leaving. Is this Canada or North Korea?
This is Canada or North Korea. the dramatic hyperbole from these guys. They would do great if they just relaxed a little bit and maybe got into theater. They'd probably really enjoy it.
If you hate us so much, just let us leave.
It's just a salon owner, some lady breathing right down your neck, or ostensibly working at a salon. Yeah, that's what you want. Somebody who's an anti-vaxxer breathing really close to you as they work on your hair. Jeez.
Guys, let him out! Let him out! Just say no to the World Economic Forum and Agenda 2030! Just say no to the Great Reset!
I like how that one, the guy who was marching out in front is guiding the ambulance around. He's really doing something there. He felt really big and important. Yeah, it's okay. I got this. We're going to let the ambulance through. And it's still not able to move despite his waving. His waving is making any difference there. But he felt important, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. And by the way, yeah, Pilgrims of St. Michael, that guy holding the St. Michael sign, apparently there's a thing behind that. I had no idea until reading the thread underneath the video there. The Pilgrims of St. Michael were founded in Canada in 1939 to promote the development of a better world, a more Christian society through the diffusion and the implementation of the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church in every sector of society, especially the economic field. So basically a churchy capitalist think tank is what I sort of gather from that. So apparently that's probably likely the significance behind that sign. Oh God, it just gets goofier. There's a group for everything. Gotta love that. Okay. Let's see here. What? Oh yeah, this article is part of a series on conservatism in Canada. There you go. You can't tell me this isn't a politically skewed issue. I can say that for sure. There's definitely not an ostensible amount of people on the left promoting this sort of thing. Jeez. Wait, did I have any more on that? I felt like... Oh, well. Okay, the next thing. Oh, Jessica, what are you saying? I think it's pretty funny how many anti-vaxxers are pro-Putin, almost like the propaganda is coming from the same place. I mean, in terms of I don't have any solid proof on that. I haven't done a ton of research into this, but the idea that a lot of discord politically is sown by potentially Russian influence and things like that, it should be 0% surprising. It just it really wouldn't surprise me. That's for sure. I'm willing to take some learning on that if anybody wants to provide more info. But all the talk of Russian like troll tanks and no, not literal tanks, like think tanks. I mean to say, like Russian troll farms, I think is the the term for it. That sort of thing. Yeah, it's it just would be 0% surprising to me. A lot of the political discord that has been sown, even in like amongst leftist circles, and what I've been seeing in terms of, in fact, I intend to touch more on this in next week's episode. You know, talking about leftists in Canada, in North America, in and amongst NATO countries that seem to be strongly influenced to favor Putin and Russia. And I want to get into a little bit of the unpacking of the nuance of the how and why. And yeah, so we'll be getting more into that. But yeah, definitely interesting train of thought, I guess you could say. We're going into the LGBTQ stuff that we've been seeing, like these laws that they're trying to have passed in Florida, which are essentially just anti-trans laws for the most part, anti-gay in a lot of ways, because that's part of the greater scheme here. Is, you know, the right trying to reinvigorate a culture war in this way. So like here, for instance, we have good old Beanie Boy, Timmy Pool, Media Matters posts, Timcast IRL panelists. I guess Timcast IRL like his the name of his show? Just doesn't really roll off the tongue. Anyway, Timcast panelists attack marriage equality. Lo and behold, suggest it led to normalizing grooming. I've been seeing this word a lot recently. When I shared this, yeah, there's that word again. The right seems to be very focused on, particularly at this time when we're talking about grooming kids into becoming trans, that just sounds so boldly ridiculous on its face. That should set off some sort of bullshit detector in you. But besides the point, grooming, if you Google this term, look for a definition of it, it is almost exclusively about, regardless of sexuality, the attempts to condition and lure children into sexual abuse. So the fact that everybody on the right wants to recontextualize this word to be almost exclusively a hot button issue against the LGBTQ communities seems a bit sus, especially, you know, when a lot of their buddies, you know, were taking trips on to Epstein Island and things like that. Just seems, you know, a little coincidental. Interesting that they want to take that angle. That protect the children rhetoric is just so often doesn't seem to be about protecting children at all. Yeah, bonkers. So, and then, you know, like all the stuff where they're going after Disney now. What is it? Here, let me try and find that that window. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Well, Ben Shapiro here. Daily Wire to make conservative kids shows to rival woke Disney. I thought these guys were against indoctrinating children, you know? But now they want to indoctrinate them with right-wing rhetoric and teach kids that essentially that, no, being gay in any capacity is weird and not normal. And if you feel that way, you are weird and not normal, and you ought to keep that shit to yourself. And if it depresses you and end up killing yourself, well, it's probably what God wanted, is essentially the culture war that they're waging here. It's not about protecting kids. It's not about letting people live their best lives. It's about controlling the culture to fit a certain false sense of normalcy that they have allowed themselves to be insulated in, as long as they don't have to have their assumptions challenged, right? Like the guy in the previous video said, it's just a fact of nature. They just want to have their very simple facts of nature, right? Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. You're born that way. It's simple. I don't want to think anything further about it, despite any evidence there is to the contrary. Because me having to learn stuff is frustrating, and I don't want to do it. So now everybody else has to pay the consequences, and I'm a very strong free thinker. No, I don't see the irony in that. I don't know how else to put it. And it's so obvious, right? And I think like in a lot of ways they know it's obvious. Like they know that this is kind of full of shit, right? That they're waging a silly culture war. But it works for them. The point is it works. They're getting the money, they're getting the power. So I sometimes get wrapped up in the idea of like, oh, you know, educating people is important, but when you got a certain crowd like this, it gets to the point where educating them is just counterproductive and a waste of your time. You know, because Ben Shapiro is not interested in being educated. You know, he's interested in running his grift. And that's all that matters to them. And what is it? I had more on that. Like another window. Oh, yeah. Of course, like they're making Disney the big target in this, right? Because they, you know, I have a lot of problems with Disney from like a economic perspective, a worker's perspective, things like that. But the one thing that they at least are doing okay is on the social end of things, they understand that, you know, gay people exist. There's a lot of gay people that work at Disney, I'm sure of it. And that that trans people exist. And that they're not meant to be shunned by society. They're human beings that deserve love and respect like anybody else. Shouldn't be a big controversial hoopla to say that. But yeah, Florida threatens to revoke Disney's self-governing authority over LGBTQ feud. Wait, hang on. Disney's what now? Yeah, I think it has to do with like basically how they're able to basically self-govern Disneyland like its own city in Florida. I think that's or Walt Disney World. Sorry, I know there's some Disney fans out there that would be like, no, it's Disney World in Florida, it's Disneyland in California. I don't fucking care about the difference, okay? Earlier this week, Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill that allows parents to sue school districts if teachers violate what appear to be tactically vague limitations on discussing sexual orientation or gender identity. Yeah, these like Ron DeSantis is clearly out of his mind and a disgusting person, but you know. They know there's fallout to this that's bigger than what the law does, and it's such petty shit, right? Like now, what if a teacher decides to transition? You know, are they not allowed to mention it? They're just going to show up one day, existing as their true selves, and they're not allowed to talk about it or address it. It's ridiculous. Same. This is the same crowd that's all about free speech, right? No restrictions on speech. Should be no restrictions on somebody's speech and ability to express themselves, except if you're gay or trans, because we're going to frame it in the sense of grooming and harmful to children. That's the only way they can sell the idea, right? Is if you can get certain amounts of insecure people to be scared for their children, you got it. You got it going on. And, you know, I seem a little doom and gloom about it at the moment. But you know what? We've won these culture wars in the past. They're bumps in the road at the most. Yeah, they're horrid. Yeah, it leads to people being hurt. Yeah, it leads to people dying. But, at the very least, it's not something they win. It's a losing game in the long run. So at least there's that. Now getting on to the thing that I wanted to talk about the least, but I feel it needs to be touched on. At least for just a brief moment. This guy. Will Smith's career may take a Hollywood timeout after Oscars slap controversy. Just going to get this out of the way. It's not that controversial. God damn it. It was nothing. It's all the hoopla. And most of it was rude. And, in my opinion, Chris Rock was ruder. But the fact that, all that aside, opinions on that aside, because, again, I don't want to get into that, as tempting as it is. But all opinions on that aside, what really got me and what really disgusts me about it is people taking this as an opportunity to double down, making fun of the black woman in this situation who had almost nothing to do with it. It was an action committed by Will Smith. It was a joke told by Chris Rock. Jada was just the lowly target subject matter that happened to be there. And people took this as an opportunity to make fun of her appearance, make fun of her being a bitch. Like, what is it? The comedian Tom Segura, I've been making fun of him on Twitter a little bit. Calls her a bitch? What's wrong with you? Like, and it's not, and I have to stress, this isn't about defending celebrities and defending millionaires that, they're never going to care what we say. Whether you're defending them, they don't care that you're defending them because they can't see it. And they don't care that I'm offending them because they can't see it. It's like people who are affected by that kind of language in their day-to-day life do see it. And they're affected in tons of systemic ways where you saying stuff like this reveals your attitude, your underlying attitude about them. And if it doesn't reveal your underlying attitude about them, it really is all about jokes, then you should know those people in your life are there, they're listening, they could be hurt by it, and you should have enough respect from them to maybe just not, I've seen memes comparing Jada's appearance to being a man, not only because she's bald, but essentially playing on the disgusting stereotype that black women aren't feminine enough looking by our, I guess, European-based beauty standards. It's grossly offensive. It's grossly offensive directly to them because you know how it affects these attitudes, these culturally prevailing attitudes that are negative affect people. You should damn well know that. And not only that, not that I want to center myself in it at all, but I find it offensive and dehumanizing because it is dehumanizing. Like, I don't know how to phrase it, but I'm certainly not upset on someone's behalf in a lot of ways. I just find it upsetting, period. It's fucked up. And so how so many white men in particular took this as an opportunity to, make their dog whistly racist jokes at Jada's expense. And then if you did make fun of Will Smith, what did you make fun of? Not the fact that he just lost his cool and did something wrong, perhaps, if that's your opinion on it. No jokes playing on that. No, it was about how Jada had an affair and it hurt him, and how they now have themselves in an open relationship. So Will Smith is just cucked, supposedly, and that he's a weak, emasculate man. That's the angle you decided to take. As a queer person in a polyamorous relationship, seeing so many people in my life passively making jokes like that, it's got to make me wonder how much actual respect that you have for people like myself. I don't think it's. I just don't think it's very funny. I don't think it's very funny that you could be hurting somebody who, say, maybe their spouse did cheat on them, and it impacted their life severely. And making fun of the man in that situation for being the one cheated on in this context like that, when he, cried on camera, bared his soul, and then we made jokes about that. And it says something greater about how men are able to express themselves in the society without and be vulnerable, and how we're willing to react to that. And I'm not saying it's all like black and white, right or wrong, and there's this definitive line to it all. I'm not the arbitrator of that. But the fact that so many took this as an opportunity to make fun of the things that they did, make fun of the things they did make fun of. Interesting choices in some of the narrative folks choose to run there, and maybe they should reflect on that within themselves a little bit. Anyway, we're reaching the tail end of the show, and I have a winner to announce for the cover/custom song contest. It's gone by many names over the past month and a half that I've been doing it. Okay, rolling around the names in the hat here, trying to make it as fair as possible. We got a good amount in the hat this time. There was less names in the hat the last time we did this. All right. Wish somebody could provide a drum roll. Okay, yeah, I can't look. Okay. I can't allow my visual cortex to be of any influence here. I gotta do it blind. Okay. Okay, I have a name. Thank you for the drum roll, Jessica. Lacey of Artemis Creates, friend of this show and this channel. Early in my days of doing this show, Lacey interviewed me for her podcast. I believe it was for her hat collecting segment. So yeah, congratulations to Lacey. Thank you everybody who entered the contest. That includes Lexi, Alex, Tom, Christina, Robin, Jesse, and Chris. I think those were all the people that dropped a little coin in the pond there for your old boy Jimmy. So big ups to Lacey. Thank you so much for your contribution. And if you're not watching live right now, well, I'll be contacting you to let you know that you won and that you can obligate me to create a song. And like I said, in case you weren't watching the beginning of the show, I didn't do like a mathematical tally because there was a couple different ways folks ended up contributing to it, and it wasn't just through the PayPal. Some people didn't have PayPal, so they wanted to send me a donation through other means, which awesome, cool. So I sent them like an email link to do that, and but I'm quite certain we hit the goal. if we were under the goal, it's only by a few dollars, but I'm more liable to think we were over by a few dollars. And one of the first things I did was upgraded some of my music software. With those funds, a small amount of it has gone to that. Some of it's going to go to the actual cost of releasing the album when it's done. So yeah, basically, like as much as it's me, I guess, making money off of this stuff at the same time, doing this stuff costs a lot of money, and so I'm not really making it. I'm just spending it because shit costs money. Yeah, so that's basically the show. I don't think I got anything left to talk about now, or anything I care to talk about. Again, don't want to get into sassy Oscars hot takes. Just other than the fact that when you see situations like this and you see like the social commentary about how, you know, a black comedian insulting a black woman in front of a primarily white audience, if that sentence, especially to the white folks out there, hits your ears and you go, what the fuck are you talking about? Either ask me about it directly, I can point you into the right direction, or just listen to some of the prominent black voices that are on Twitter about it, because there's some very smart authors that did some unpacking right there on that website. I'm not saying just read any regular old Twitter people. Like I said, if you want me to point you in the right direction, I wish I had some references offhand to do that. But yeah, there was a number of things wrong with that. And then in the wake of that, to further, as white people who should damn well know that the dynamics and the systemic racism at play, to take that as an opportunity to make fun of her, again, for her looks and her medical condition. You know, sure, it's not the most horridly racist act that somebody could commit. Yeah, you're not, burning crosses on their lawns and throwing rocks through their windows, perhaps. But come on. You should know that it's racist. You should know how that is going to play out to people. And again, they're not going to see it is not an excuse, because enough other people see it who are affected by that stuff do. And it's that simple. Just try not to be a dink, like reaching to the bottom of the barrel for your laughs. It's just lazy. It's offensive to me as a human being who likes good jokes on top of everything else. Because the bad jokes are just really bad. Why waste my time with having to hear your shit jokes? Give me a good one. God damn it. Anyway, yeah, that's the show. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully Nat will be joining us on the show next time, but like I said, she's doing her D&D campaign tonight. So wish her luck on that. I hope I don't play D&D, so I'm not like, I'm only like kind of somewhat familiar. But I hope she wins the points and levels up. Assuming you do that in D&D. Anyway, I'm going to have the Dungeons & Dragons people, nerds out there, mad at me, perhaps. And I say nerds lovingly, because I'm a nerd in all kinds of other ways. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going to cut myself off. I feel like without outro music, I don't know when to stop. I'm Jimmy Ruffian.